We're in this series, Kingdom Come, and we're looking at what Jesus talked about exclusively, which was the kingdom of God. Jesus came to establish the realm where he would be king. And submission is a tough topic to talk about, right? None of us like to submit. I don't like to submit. Last week, many of you had a profound experience with this king, and you received his love, perhaps for the first time, or perhaps for a fresh way in a long time. And here's what I want you to know today. Receiving Jesus' love is the beginning of a journey toward total surrender to his kingship. The good king that you receive is on a mission in your life to have total kingship over every area of your life. And that may not sound like a good thing to people who don't like submission, but I promise you that it is, and we're going to talk about why that's the case today. The question is, once you receive this king, what happens next? What happens next? And what happens next is this. You come to a fork. And it is the beginning of many forks. Jesus has a way and has a passion for forks. Not just for eating, but he has a passion for forks. There are scriptures in the Bible that just didn't make sense to me for a really long time. Because I tell you what, if Jesus approached sharing the faith the way, like I see the way Jesus was interacting with people who wanted the kingdom. Tell you what, if he was a pastor here and he shared that same way, he would shrink Crossroads faster than you could say boo. Because there are just these places in the Bible where we don't encounter warm and fuzzy Jesus. We don't encounter the Jesus that's like, great, just come on. No, there are places where he lays out a clear fork and he challenges people to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to be submitted to his kingship or not. How is it love for him to lay out these forks that don't make it easy for people to follow him, but actually cause people to be challenged? Listen, here's the thing. It's only good, it's only love if Jesus is actually better than wealth. It's only good and it's only love if Jesus is actually better than mother, sister, father, yes, even children. It's only better if there is a life that if you're willing to give it up to Jesus, it is worth giving up. It's only right and it's only loving if Jesus is the good king. And I want you to know, Jesus is the good king. Jesus is the good king. Jesus is the only king who dies for his enemies. We have stories in history of kings dying for their subjects. We have stories in history of kings dying for a cause. There is no king that I know of other than Jesus who dies for his enemies. What do I mean when I say that? Well, the Bible puts it like this in Romans chapter 5. It says, "But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." He's a good king. And because he's a good king, he loves us enough to tell us the hard truth, which is this. You and I serve counterfeit kings. You and I serve counterfeit kings. All the time. We do not like to be told what to do. It's just downright un-American, right? Listen, we're the country who exists because we said no to a king. That's why we exist. And so deep in our value structure, we value independence. There's only one problem. Our value of independence is actually all an illusion. You are not, nor have you ever been independent. You're serving something. There is something or there is someone who is telling you what to do. There's some desire. There's some urge. There's some appetite. There's somebody's approval. There's somebody's wound that they've given you that is driving your life. We all serve somebody. I'll tell you, for all of us, what Jesus wants us to see is we serve a counterfeit king. Or maybe I should say we serve a counterfeit queen, because the truth is, the prince of this world is not our only enemy. The truth is, we're our own enemy whenever we say, I want the throne. Whenever we say, it's about me, we're playing into the same lie. So if Jesus was putting that same fork out for us today, what would he do? What would he say? And one of the things he might say is, if you want to come after me, if you want to receive the fullness of life that I have for you in the kingdom, then you need to get in your coffin and you need to die. Everything in you that you prize above Jesus needs to die. Every relationship, every aspiration, every appetite that controls your life more than Jesus does has to die. Every fear that controls the choices you make more than Jesus controls your choices needs to die. If anyone would come after me, Jesus would say to us, get in your coffin and die. Because the truth is, receiving the kingdom actually involves two deaths. Jesus died to make it possible for us to live. But make no mistake about it, the counterfeit king in you, the counterfeit king in me has to die. The counterfeit king has to die. Following Jesus has led to deaths in my life. See, some of us, maybe we said yes to Jesus last week or 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Man, you've received him, but you're not experiencing the power of the king in your life. And maybe the reason for that is because you haven't died. You haven't died. You've been trying to augment your life with Jesus. Jesus, come and be a part of what I'm already doing. I'm on the throne. If you want to help me with my throne, great. You want to help me with my kingdom, great. And Jesus says, I don't share the throne. If you want the fullness of power, then you have to get in the coffin, and you have to die, and you have to put Jesus on the throne. Jesus is a king who wants every choice, in every area, every time, and it's always for your good. Every day I say to Jesus, Jesus, you are a good king. You are the rightful king. You are a king who fights. You are a king who gives me power. So everything on here that makes up my life dies and is secondary to you. Jesus, you can have everything in my life. You can have my family. You can have my marriage. You can have my kids. You can have my money. You can have my job. You can have my dreams. You can have my plans. You can have all of my relationships. You can have my pride. You can have my ego. You can have my reputation. You can have my legacy. You can have everything that I would prize or value above you. You can also have my fears. You can have my fears because you're a good king. And I think about times in my life when I was in utter rebellion against you and you were faithful and you continued to pursue me with your love, and so you can have me. I think about times in my life where I was trying my best to follow you and still missing the mark, and how patient you are with me in those times. You can have my life, Jesus. You can have me. Jesus, you're my king.